my article talked about some speeches that were made a couple days ago in reference to the recent distribution of the funds raised by one fund. And one of the speeches was made by this guy Feinberg, who was in charge of watching where the $60 million went to the series of marathon victims. And in the article he talks about how one fund could become this big model for other compensation funds, just because there was one single fund that everyone donated to rather than a bunch of little ones, which overall helped the whole cause. Another thing about one fund is that it was the money distribution was decided by a public meeting, so everyone could go and the community could get really involved in where the money went and who got what and stuff like that, to send the money where it was really needed. Another speech was made by Governor Patrick, and he talks a lot about how frenzied it was after the bombing and the chase through Watertown and everything like that, and how he was kind of like worried for a while. But they make a point to mention that he said that he never asked the people to stay home. He never told anyone in Boston to stay home and to keep out of the way. Everyone just did it on their own. They just asked, and helpfully everyone complied and stayed out of the way so that everyone stayed safe. And he also says that this is incredible because instead of, he says, quote, we turn to each other rather than on each other. And I connected this to what we've been studying recently with how one event can spur so much violence and how a community can turn on itself and how horrible that can be. But in this event, it didn't happen. Everyone kind of went behind the victims and there was no fighting in the streets. Nothing was like destroyed besides the bombing and like that sort of thing. So my question is, what do you think has changed between what we've been studying that time period to now that's really shifted how we look at events like this that don't spur as much violence as they may have?
I think with the marathon bombing, there was a lot of violence, but it was violence that no one could really control. Whereas with segregation of schools and all of that stuff, it was violence that was very much under control, and the people could kind of affect how much violence, where, and when, and all of that stuff. Whereas with the marathon bombings, it was just kind of a shock, and I think that kind of just scared everyone a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think the marathon thing is just two kind of outsiders who don't alienated from American society for whatever reason, kind of coming in, and everyone else was against them. In the 70s, you got huge groups of angry people. Like the majority of an area, the vast majority of an area. So I think it's a totally different situation and hard really to compare.
Yeah, on that note, I think the main difference is the marathon bombing really brought us together, the whole Boston Strong, whereas the segregation was a total split, and that's what is like two different facets of violence and two different ways that the city dealt with it. So I think they're way different in that aspect.
What about the one fund thing? Have they spent all the money? Do you know?
I think that the article talks about how they're redistributing everything, make sure everyone gets what they need, stuff like that. So I would say they're just about distributing all of it.
Any other comments?